My first symptoms were subtle but persistent. 1 week I had diarrhea. The next week, constipation. Then back to diarrhea. I had never experienced such irregularity in my bowel patterns before, but I was told that because I was postpartum and breastfeeding, it was just probably my body adjusting to hormones. Now, when you see diarrhea and constipation taking turns like I did, that can be a red flag. On New Year's Eve 10 years ago, I suddenly found myself filling the toilet with blood. I just had a baby. I knew where the blood was coming from, and I knew it wasn't normal. Welcome to the Colorectal Cancer Outcomes Research Channel. I'm Dr. Mary Rivera. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer at 36, and today I'm also a researcher who studies this disease. Many people ask me what my symptoms were before my diagnosis, and what it was like trying to navigate the healthcare system. This video is part 1 of a 2-part series where I share the symptoms I experienced before my diagnosis and explain the science behind them. Part 2 will dive into the research I've done on colorectal cancer symptoms, especially among early age onset CRC patients like me, and what we're seeing in the data. My first symptoms were subtle but persistent. 1 week I had diarrhea. The next week, constipation. Then back to diarrhea. I had never experienced such irregularity in my bowel patterns before. I noticed these patterns right after having my second baby. Luckily, I was seeing my doctor regularly for newborn checkups and monthly visits for the baby. So I was able to share my concerns about myself. But I was told that because I was postpartum and breastfeeding, it was just probably my body adjusting to hormones, with the advice to let them know if anything changed. So what actually causes these changes in bowel habits? Before we talk symptoms, a quick colon 101. The colon's job is pretty simple but important. After the small intestine has absorbed nutrients from the food we eat, what's left moves into the colon. The colon absorbs water back into the body, adds a little mucus to help everything move smoothly, and uses gentle, coordinated muscle waves to guide stool along to the rectum and out. When the system is in rhythm, bowel movements feel routine and predictable. Diarrhea happens when things move through the colon too quickly or when the colon doesn't have enough time to reabsorb water. Stools become loose or watery, and you might go more often and with more urgency. In CRC, this can happen because a tumor irritates the lining of the colon, speeding things up and pulling more water into the stool. And if the tumor narrows the bowel and creates a tight spot, liquid stool can move around it, which also shows up as diarrhea. Constipation is the flip side. Things slow down or get held up, and the colon keeps drawing out water, which leaves hard, dry stools that are difficult to pass. You might go less often, strain, or feel like you didn't fully empty. In CRC, a growing tumor can narrow the passage or disrupt the colon's normal muscle pattern, so stools back up and dries out. So this is the science behind diarrhea and constipation as common symptoms of CRC. But what really caught my attention wasn't just one or the other. It was how they kept switching. And that flip-flop pattern deserves its own explanation. Now, when you see diarrhea and constipation taking turns like I did, that flip-flop pattern, especially if it's new, persistent, and not explained by something like a recent infection, new medication, or diet change, that can be a red flag. So what causes that flip-flop between diarrhea and constipation? What's happening is that the tumor can disrupt the colon or rectum in more than one way. Sometimes, stool slows down and backs up behind the tumor, and that shows up as constipation. But because the colon is narrowed, liquid stool from higher up can still slip past, and that comes out as diarrhea. So you get this alternating pattern. Some days, everything is backed up and slow, and other days, only liquid can move through. That's exactly what I was seeing in my own body. Even before I knew what was causing it, I kept seeing that back and forth. And for a time, I convinced myself it was just postpartum hormones, like my doctor suggested. But then, everything changed. I developed a symptom that was impossible to ignore and far more dramatic. The date is hard to forget because it happened on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2015. I spent that night in the emergency room after filling the toilet bowl with blood, not once, but 3 times earlier that day. It was very scary, and I knew something was very wrong. At the ER, they did a CT scan, but I was sent home with the advice, there's a filling problem. Follow up if the bleeding happens again. I went home even more scared and unsure of what to do next. No one had explained what that bleeding might actually signal, and I was confused about what filling problem even meant. I wish I had understood then what rectal bleeding really means. I wish I had known what I've learned since. I didn't know the term then, but I do now. Rectal bleeding. Rectal bleeding can show up in a few different ways. Sometimes it's blood on the toilet paper, sometimes it's blood in the toilet bowl, and sometimes it's blood mixed right into the stool itself. When the blood is actually in or on the stool, we call that blood in the stool, but it's all considered rectal bleeding. In my case, it was blood filling the toilet bowl. So what actually causes rectal bleeding in CRC? Essentially, a tumor can make the lining of the colon or rectum more fragile. It can rub, irritate, or break the surface of the tissue, and that's what leads to bleeding. The blood vessels in that area can also become more delicate as the tumor grows. So even everyday bowel movements can cause bleeding. You're probably wondering what happened after that ER visit. Unfortunately, things didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, things didn't settle down. I had 3 more episodes of rectal bleeding, each one just as scary as the first. I wrote everything down, the date, the time, what happened. I brought all of it to my doctor because by then, I knew I couldn't ignore it and I needed someone to take a closer look. And it was only after I documented those episodes and shared them that I was referred to a gastroenterologist. Someone was finally going to investigate what was really going on. Getting the referral to a gastroenterologist was a relief. When their office contacted me for an appointment, they immediately booked me for a colonoscopy. And the rest, as they say, is history. A part of my personal history that forever changed my life. On March 29th, 2016, another date I will never forget, I went in for my colonoscopy and was diagnosed with rectal cancer. That day deserves a video of its own, and I'll share that story in more detail because it changed the course of my life. But in part 2 of this video series, I'm going to shift to the work I've done since then, the research on the most common symptoms people experience before a CRC diagnosis, and what the science tells us about the patterns many of us share. I hope this video was helpful. If there's one thing I want to leave you with, it's this. Always listen to your body. You are the expert on you. If something feels new, persistent, or unexplained, you deserve to be taken seriously. If this video supported you in any way, please like, subscribe, or share it with someone who might need it.